Hello everyone. Today I am so excited to share something that makes my heart sparkle with joy, the beautiful places of Europe. Whenever I think of Europe, I imagine stories unfolding in cobblestone streets, castles standing tall with centuries of secrets, and little cafes where the aroma of fresh coffee and pastries fills the air. Europe is not just a continent, it feels like a collection of living memories, each country with its own charm and personality. Imagine walking through Paris, where the Eiffel Tower lights up the night like a crown of the city. The little streets around it are filled with laughter, music, and artists painting with so much passion. Then picture yourself in Italy, where Venice whispers romance through its canals and gondolas, or Florence, where art lives in every corner, from statues to paintings that have survived through time. There is something magical about Switzerland, where the mountains wear snow like a diamond dress and the lakes reflect the sky as if they were giant mirrors. Then there's Spain, full of energy and rhythm, where flamenco dancers spin with fire in their steps, and where every sunset feels like a celebration of life. And how can I forget Greece, with its white houses overlooking the sea, making you feel like you're walking inside a dream? Europe is not just about history and monuments, it's about feelings. It's about sitting by the River Thames in London, watching boats pass by while raindrops gently fall, or tasting chocolate in Belgium so rich that one bite feels like a hug. It's about the lavender fields of France that paint the land purple, and the tulips of the Netherlands that turn spring into a rainbow on the ground. What I love most is how every place has its own voice. Some places sing softly, like the peaceful villages of Austria, while others shout with joy, like the busy streets of Berlin. Each country is like a different chapter in the same storybook, and traveling through them is like turning the pages of a fairy tale where every page brings a new adventure. For me, Europe is more than just places on a map. It is a feeling of wonder, beauty, and inspiration. Every corner has a heartbeat, every street has a secret, and every smile you see from strangers feels like an invitation to belong. Europe as a land of history, culture, and charm is something that fascinates every traveler and dreamer because it is a place where the past and present meet in the most graceful way. When we think of Europe, we imagine grand castles that once housed royalty, cathedrals that took centuries to build, and ancient ruins that whisper stories of civilizations long gone. It is a continent where history is not confined to books, but is seen in every stone, every monument, and every street that carries the footsteps of countless generations. From the Roman Empire to the Renaissance, from the age of exploration to the Industrial Revolution, Europe has been the stage where some of the world's most significant events unfolded, and this makes every corner of it feel alive with stories waiting to be discovered. Walking through its streets feels like stepping into a time machine, where the walls of old buildings and the grandeur of palaces reflect centuries of human creativity and resilience. But Europe is not only about its grand historical legacy, it is also about the culture that has blossomed through its people over centuries. Each country, each city, and even each little village has its own unique traditions, dialects, and ways of life. Culture in Europe is not something you simply visit. It is something you experience. It lives in the music that echoes through the streets of Vienna where classical symphonies were born. It thrives in the art galleries of Florence where masterpieces still inspire, and it lingers in the folklore of Ireland where stories and songs are passed down like treasures. The culture of Europe is a mosaic made of countless pieces, each representing a different story, but together forming a beautiful and diverse picture that enchants anyone who explores it. The charm of Europe lies in how it can feel both timeless and modern at once. You can stand before the Colosseum in Rome, imagining gladiators of the past, and then step into a lively cafe nearby where the energy of today fills the air. You can ride a bicycle in Amsterdam past canals and bridges that have existed for centuries, yet see how modern life flows around them effortlessly. Europe has the gift of preserving its history without letting it become a burden, and at the same time embracing the modern world with open arms. This balance makes the continent one of the most charming places on earth, because it does not force you to choose between past and present. It offers you both. The beauty of Europe's culture also lies in its diversity. Traveling from one country to another feels like stepping into a whole new world, even though sometimes it only takes a train ride of a few hours. In Spain, you might find yourself surrounded by fiery dances and colorful festivals, while in Sweden you experience calm traditions connected deeply with nature. In France, you enjoy fine dining and art that moves the soul, while in Greece you find ancient philosophy still reflected in the way people live and speak. Each culture has its own rhythm, its own flavor, and its own charm, and together they make Europe a place that cannot be defined by a single identity, but rather by the harmony of many. What also makes Europe remarkable is how its history and culture are not locked away but celebrated and shared openly. Museums, galleries, theaters, festivals, and libraries are everywhere, ensuring that the stories of the past continue to inspire the present. The charm comes from how accessible all of this is, how you can walk into a centuries-old cathedral and then attend a modern concert in the same city, or how you can admire ancient artifacts in the morning and enjoy contemporary street art in the evening. This openness allows visitors and locals alike to feel connected to something bigger than themselves, something that has grown over centuries and continues to evolve. Even the everyday life in Europe reflects its charm. Sitting at a cafe in Paris, sipping coffee while watching the world go by feels like stepping into a painting. Walking through a village in Tuscany where neighbors greet each other warmly feels like being part of a family. Riding a train through the Alps where nature unfolds in breathtaking views feels like entering a dream. The charm is not only in the grand monuments but also in the small details, the little traditions, the ways people live, and the moments that make life feel meaningful. Iconic cities like Paris, Rome, and London have always held a special place in the hearts of travelers because they carry with them an energy that is both timeless and vibrant. Paris is often described as the city of love, but its charm goes far beyond romance. Walking through Paris feels like stepping into a living gallery where every corner holds art, fashion, and history. The Eiffel Tower stands tall as a symbol of elegance, glowing beautifully at night as if the city itself is dressed in jewels. The Louvre, home to masterpieces that have influenced generations, is not just a museum but a treasured chest of human imagination. The cobblestone streets, the cozy cafes, the scent of freshly baked croissants in the morning, all combine to create an atmosphere that makes Paris feel like poetry come to life. Beyond the iconic sights, there are hidden corners where local artists display their work, markets filled with colors and flavors, and neighborhoods where the heartbeat of the city can be felt in every smile and conversation. Rome, on the other hand, feels like a bridge between the past and the present. Known as the Eternal City, it is where layers of history are woven into the everyday life of its people. Standing before the Colosseum, one cannot help but imagine the roar of the crowds and the power of an empire that shaped much of the world. The Roman Forum tells stories of politics, trade, and society from centuries ago. Yet life in Rome is not about looking only to the past. It is about blending ancient traditions with modern energy. A simple walk through the piazzas reveals fountains designed by legendary artists, surrounded by people enjoying gelato and laughter. Vatican City within Rome carries a spiritual weight that has drawn millions over the years, and its art, especially the Sistine Chapel, speaks to the soul in a language beyond words. Rome charms not only through its monuments, but also through the way daily life feels so warm and connected. whether it is in the shared joy of a family meal or the festive atmosphere of local events. London offers another perspective of Europe's iconic charm, where history and modernity stand side by side with grace. Tower Bridge and the Houses of Parliament remind visitors of centuries of tradition, while the London Eye and modern skyscrapers show how the city embraces the present and future. Walking through London means experiencing countless worlds at once, from the royal presence of Buckingham Palace to the creative pulse of Soho and Camden. The River Thames flows calmly, carrying with it reflections of the city's lights, while parks like Hyde Park and Regent's Park give London a natural beauty that softens the buzz of city life. What makes London even more fascinating is its cultural diversity. People from all over the world bring their traditions, languages, and cuisines, turning the city into a global mosaic. The museums, whether it is the British Museum or the Tate Modern, hold treasures that tell stories from every corner of the globe, making London not just the capital of England, but a capital of culture and knowledge. Together, Paris, Rome, and London stand as symbols of Europe's spirit, each with its own rhythm yet connected by their ability to inspire awe. They are cities that do not just show history but let you walk inside it, where architecture is not only admired but lived in, where streets do not simply lead somewhere but tell stories of those who walked them before. The charm of these cities lies not only in their landmarks, but in the atmosphere they create, an atmosphere that makes people feel both small in the face of history and yet deeply connected to it. To stroll through Paris at night, to sit on the Spanish Steps in Rome, or to watch the skyline of London from the banks of the Thames, is to experience moments that stay with you forever. These cities are not simply destinations, they are experiences woven into the identity of Europe itself, each one offering lessons, memories, and inspiration that travel beyond borders and time. Natural beauty in Switzerland, Greece, and the Netherlands shows how Europe is not only about monuments and history, but also about landscapes that take the breath away and remind us of the wonders of the earth. Switzerland is often called the land of mountains, and its scenery feels like a dream painted with snow, greenery, and clear skies. The Swiss Alps rise proudly, their peaks covered in white even when the valleys below bloom with flowers. Lakes like Geneva, Lucerne, and Zurich reflect the mountains like giant mirrors, their waters so calm and pure that they feel untouched by time. Small wooden chalets rest on the hillsides, surrounded by meadows that turn golden in summer and white in winter, making every season in Switzerland feel magical in its own way. Hiking paths lead travelers to hidden waterfalls and peaceful forests, while winter transforms the landscape into a wonderland of skiing, snowboarding, and cozy firesides. Switzerland feels like a sanctuary where nature speaks softly and clearly to the soul, a place where silence becomes as beautiful as music. Greece, by contrast, offers a natural beauty that blends sea, sky, and history into one. The islands scattered across the Aegean and Ionian seas look like jewels placed carefully upon blue waters. Santorini, with its whitewashed houses and bright blue domes, feels like a painting, where the sunsets paint the sky in fiery colors that reflect on the sea below. Crete, Rhodes, and Mykonos each carry their own character, some with sandy beaches, others with rocky cliffs, all touched by the sparkle of the Mediterranean sun. Beyond the islands, the Greek mainland holds mountains and olive groves, landscapes that inspired myths of gods and heroes. The cliffs of Meteora, with monasteries perched high above the ground, look like they were built between heaven and earth, while Mount Olympus still holds a mystical charm, reminding visitors of ancient legends. The seas of Greece are crystal clear, so transparent that boats seem to float in the air, and every breeze carries the scent of salt and wild herbs. Greece is a place where natural beauty is not separate from culture, but flows alongside it, where the land and sea feel alive with stories of the past. The Netherlands, though different from the dramatic mountains of Switzerland or the sunny islands of Greece, has its own unique and gentle charm. Known for its tulip fields, the Netherlands in spring becomes a canvas of endless color. Rows of tulips stretch as far as the eye can see, creating stripes of red, yellow, pink, and purple that look like rainbows laid upon the earth. Windmills stand tall across the flat landscape, symbols of the country's history and harmony with nature. The canals of Amsterdam reflect the sky and the lights of narrow houses, creating scenes that feel both romantic and peaceful. Beyond the cities, the countryside offers meadows dotted with cows and sheep, skies filled with migrating birds, and beaches along the North Sea where the wind feels fresh and freeing. The Netherlands shows that beauty does not always need to be dramatic or overwhelming. Sometimes it lies in simplicity, in the quiet order of nature, in the balance of land and water. Together, Switzerland, Greece, and the Netherlands reveal the diversity of Europe's natural treasures. Switzerland shows the majesty of mountains and lakes. Greece offers the sparkle of seas and islands, and the Netherlands displays the charm of fields, flowers, and canals. Each place has a different mood, a different rhythm, and a different way of touching the heart. In Switzerland, the air feels crisp and pure, filling you with peace as you stand among towering peaks. In Greece, the sun feels warm and golden, inviting you to dance along with the waves. In the Netherlands, the breeze feels gentle and kind, guiding you through colorful landscapes where time slows down. These countries remind us that nature is not only about beauty, but about the feelings it awakens, the sense of wonder, calm, and joy that stays long after the journey ends. Unique traditions, food, and art across different countries in Europe create an atmosphere that feels endlessly rich, alive, as if every nation is its own chapter in a storybook filled with flavors, colors, and rhythms. In Spain, traditions often come alive in the form of dance and celebration. Flamenco, with its fiery steps and heartfelt music, is not just a performance but an expression of identity and spirit. Festivals like La Tomatina, or the running of the bulls in Pamplona, show how people come together with energy, joy, and courage, turning ordinary streets into stages for extraordinary experiences. In Italy, tradition is tied deeply to family and food, where meals are not just eaten but celebrated. Homemade pasta, wood-fired pizza, and gelato are more than dishes. They are symbols of history, love, and togetherness. Every recipe feels like it carries the memory of generations, passed down carefully from one to the next. France embraces its traditions in ways that combine elegance and artistry. The art of baking is perfected in every flaky croissant and every delicate macaron, while cheese and wine culture turn simple meals into feasts of taste and refinement. Parisian cafes are part of daily tradition, where people sit for hours enjoying conversation and observing the world go by. Art in France has always been central, with the Louvre, the Musée d'Orsay, and countless galleries holding treasures from centuries of creativity. But French art is not only inside museums, it is also in fashion, in architecture, in the way people move and live. The tradition of beauty in everyday life is something that France has gifted to the world. Germany holds its own set of traditions, often linked to music, festivals, and craftsmanship. Oktoberfest in Munich is a celebration of culture, food, and joy, where music fills the air and people from all over the world gather in unity. German food like sausages, pretzels, and hearty breads carry the essence of the land and its people, comforting and satisfying. Music has also been at the heart of German tradition, with composers like Beethoven and Bach leaving behind legacies that still influence the world of classical music. In towns and villages, traditions of Christmas markets bring light and warmth during the cold season, with decorations, handmade crafts, and spiced treats that create a magical feeling year after year. In Greece, tradition is a bridge between the ancient and the modern. Greek cuisine is filled with olive oil, fresh vegetables, seafood, and herbs, creating dishes that are both healthy and full of flavor. Meals are social events, often shared with family and friends, with laughter and conversation as important as the food itself. Traditional dances and music echo the stories of ancestors, keeping alive a culture that has survived for thousands of years. Even the architecture, with whitewashed houses and blue domes, carries a tradition of simplicity and harmony with the natural environment, a tradition that continues to inspire travelers and locals alike. Moving north, the traditions of Scandinavia highlight a deep connection with nature and simplicity. In Sweden, the concept of fika, a coffee break shared with pastries and friends, is a small yet meaningful tradition that reflects the value of slowing down and enjoying the moment. In Norway, folk music and dance remain central to cultural identity, and traditional wooden houses decorated with intricate carvings show the artistry of the past. The food traditions are shaped by the land, with seafood, berries, and breads reflecting the closeness of people to their environment. These traditions remind us of the importance of balance, harmony, and appreciation of the little things in life. Eastern Europe also carries traditions that feel powerful and deeply rooted. In Poland, folk art is expressed through colorful patterns, hand-painted decorations, and lively dances. Traditional dishes like pierogi are shared with pride, connecting families and communities. In Hungary, music and dance bring vibrancy to festivals, while traditional dishes like goulash speak of warmth and history. Russia holds vast traditions in literature, ballet, and architecture, with the Onion, domed churches standing as symbols of artistic beauty and religious devotion. Art across Europe is not only found in museums but in the daily life of its people. From the street musicians of Prague to the painters of Florence, from the theater performances of London to the fashion houses of Milan, art is alive in every corner. Each country uses art as a way of telling its story, preserving its memory, and expressing its soul. Food, traditions, and art together create an identity for each nation. Yet they also show how connected Europe is as a whole. The traditions may differ in form, but at their heart they all celebrate community, creativity, and the joy of living. Europe as a storybook of unforgettable experiences comes alive through the journeys, encounters, and emotions that every traveler collects along the way, each page filled with moments that stay etched in memory long after the trip has ended. Every country feels like a different chapter, with its own rhythm, scenery, and voices, and together they create a narrative that is as rich and colorful as any tale written by human hands. Walking through the streets of Paris, one feels as though stepping into a romantic novel, where the lights of the Eiffel Tower twinkle like the stars in a love story, and where artists on the sidewalks capture emotions with strokes of paint and pencil. The air is filled with the scent of pastries and the sound of conversation, making the city itself feel like a character that speaks softly yet powerfully. Traveling to Rome feels like turning the page to an epic tale where heroes and empires once ruled. Every stone of the Colosseum carries echoes of history, and the ruins of the Roman Forum reveal the stories of rulers, thinkers, and ordinary people who shaped the world. The piazzas are stages where modern life dances with ancient history, with fountains and statues as the silent narrators. Sitting at a cafe in Rome with a plate of pasta is not only about food, but about being part of a story that has been unfolding for centuries. Then comes London, a chapter filled with both mystery and grandeur, where the fog around the River Thames feels like the backdrop of a classic detective novel, and the majestic presence of Big Ben marks time in a story that never pauses. The city is alive with contrasts, from the royal traditions of Buckingham Palace to the vibrant, artistic neighborhoods where creativity bursts forth in music, fashion, and art. Riding a red double-decker bus past landmarks that have appeared in countless stories feels like entering those very tales yourself. The story continues in Greece, where mythology and reality blur together. Standing on the cliffs of Santorini, watching the sun sink into the sea, feels like reading poetry written in light and color. The ancient temples of Athens stand as monuments to the gods, telling stories of power, wisdom, and human ambition. The islands, each with their own personality, feel like chapters in a mythological saga where every wave and stone carries the weight of legend. In Switzerland, the story shifts to a fairy tale of mountains and lakes. The Alps rise like enchanted fortresses, their snowy peaks sparkling in the sun, while villages below look like illustrations from a children's book. Traveling on a train through this landscape feels like turning the pages of a story where nature is both the author and the main character. The quiet of the valleys, the clear waters of the lakes, and the fresh mountain air create moments that are written not in ink but in feelings of peace and awe. The Netherlands adds another tone to the story, gentle and colorful like a pastel painting. The tulip fields stretch like endless pages filled with lines of red, yellow, and purple, each flower a word in the story of spring. Windmills turn slowly as if marking the passage of time, and the canals of Amsterdam flow like sentences that connect one memory to the next. Riding a bicycle along narrow streets, or sitting by the water with a view of charming houses, makes the experience feel like being inside a simple yet beautiful tale of everyday joy. Eastern Europe brings stories filled with resilience, tradition, and hidden treasures. Walking through Prague feels like entering a medieval tale with castles, spires, and cobblestone streets, while Budapest glows at night with the lights of its bridges and parliament building reflecting on the Danube like lines of golden prose. The folk dances, the music, and the flavors of the food add richness to the story, reminding us of the voices of people who have lived and thrived through centuries of change. Each place in Europe is a page in this storybook, and the traveler becomes both the reader and the character, shaping their own experience as they move from one country to another. The joy of tasting Belgian chocolate, the calm of sailing on a Greek island, the thrill of walking through the bustling markets of Spain, or the peace of watching snow fall in Austria, all become unforgettable paragraphs in a story that never truly ends. The storybook of Europe is written in landscapes, traditions, art, and the warmth of its people, offering experiences that remain as memories, dreams, and inspirations for anyone who steps into its pages.